My name is Beth Larson, and I play the flute and the piccolo in the Naples Philharmonic and the Southwest Florida Symphony. I also teach flute and piccolo at Monarch Music Studio of Naples and in my home studio right here in Fort Myers. Today, I'd like to talk to you and give you some tips about playing in the top register of the flutes, basically helping you to get the highest notes to speak well on the flute. So, first things first, make sure your flute is in good working order and that you've got it set up, all lined up straight, embouchure hole in line with the middle of the keys. And you want to make sure your flute doesn't leak at all, meaning making sure the keys and the pads and the keys cover the tone holes. It's hard enough to play the flute without having problems with leaky notes. So with that done, let's definitely make sure that you've warmed up first in the low register before you attempt to play any high register notes. I know a lot of you in band, and myself included, when I was in middle and high school, I'd grab my flute and I'd just go in a hurry to warm up, and I'd play the B flat scale a little too fast, and my lips and everything would be, just not ready for the onslaught of the air. So give yourself some time when you start to practice to warm up in the low register of the instrument, because the low register is going to be the foundation of your sound for the middle and high registers. So make sure you warm up. I usually warm up with a chromatic scale going down. Two notes at a time, just to get my lips warmed up and to get the air moving and my lungs opened, and just to get myself relaxed and ready to practice. The next thing you want to check that when you go to play the high notes and you've already warmed up, when you go to play up there, you want to make sure that your bottom lip isn't covering too much of the embouchure hole. You want to cover just a third of the embouchure hole, so about that much. This much is too much. About half is too much. Only a third of the embouchure hole. So a lot of my students, and myself included, when I was in middle and high school, I would cover too much and keep my chin down. And boy, I'd get the high notes very easily, but I wouldn't have a very good quality sound. It's kind of thin and small. It's very difficult to play loudly with that amount of coverage. So make sure you keep your head up and only cover a third of the embouchure hole. And you can feel that a little bit on the bottom of your lip, that your bottom lip is sort of slopping into the embouchure hole. Next, make sure when you want to play higher notes on the flute that you used a faster airstream. Now that doesn't mean pinching your lips and pushing the air through that smaller opening. Yes, you do make a smaller lip opening, but if you push the air through too small of a lip opening, you'll get, again, another thin sound. And sometimes if you're really pinching a lot, your lips will buzz. It's awful. We play a woodwind instrument, not a brass instrument, so we definitely want to avoid buzzing our lips to get a high note on the flute. So if you've noticed that happening, trying to get some of the really, really high notes on the flute, it's most likely because you haven't taken a deep enough breath and you're not moving enough air from your diaphragm all the way up. So instead, practice taking a long, slow, deep breath and then attacking the note with a lot of air. And your lips are just going to gently wrap around that airstream and just focus it and put it in the right place. It takes practice and it takes a lot of patience to do that. But if you're really conscious about your breath before you start, and your posture, and your whole lineup, that will become easier in time. So when you push that air, that amount of air faster from your tummy, from your diaphragm, and you speed up that air, keep everything nice and open. Ah, ah, ah. Think, oh, oh, ah, ah. Breathe like Darth Vader. And that way your chest and throat will stay open and relaxed. And that's really the key to getting a beautiful sound. A really open jaw, open throat, fast air, smaller lip opening, but nothing that's too tight or constricted. Last thing I want to mention is that with all this flexibility that you have when you're supporting the sound with a lot of air, your lips are be much more flexible. Your lips will come forward because you're pushing that amount of air. But when you play higher notes, everybody thinks, well, I'll speed up the air and you blow further across or up. Not a pleasant sound. The faster the air that you blow across this opening, the higher it's going to go anyways. So what really should happen is that when you push the air faster, open your jaw more to make room for that air and angle it a little further down into the flute. Now, not obviously we're not going to blow straight, down like that, but so it'll look, instead of or lips parallel, your top lip's going to come forward a little bit. So just like a good operatic singer, you would sing low, then high. Oh, you wouldn't go, oh, ah, yick. So all of this needs to remain quite relaxed and open, and even more open, with much more air and support, just to leap up to the high register. And last, but certainly not least, you've got to know your high register fingerings. A lot of the times on the flute, you'll get two notes off of one fingering. The middle, low and high B flat. You just blow faster air and you'll get the note to speak. But once you get above C sharp, in the third register, new fingering for D, and this is a real pet peeve of mine in teaching. Play your high D properly, finger it, thumb, 2, 3, pinky. It's not middle D overblown. It's left hand thumb, second, third, pinky. That's it. So many times I hear students play the upper D, fingering the low D. I call that low D, or middle D with a cold, high D with a cold, with the proper fingering. Voila, you'll get a much clearer sound already. So check your fingerings. A really great and free app online that you can get is called Flute Finger Charts, and it's a green and white app. So I recommend you all download that. Keep it on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. It contains all the fingerings for the flute and all the trill fingerings for the flute, and alternate fingerings for the flute, ones that you can use when you want to bring the pitch down if you're going too sharp, and we all go quite sharp in the third register, unless if you practice being relaxed, then you won't go quite as sharp. But it's nice to have those alternate fingerings too, so make sure you get that app. So with that said, practice your low register, and this is what I do. When I practice the low register to get into the upper register, I'll practice octaves. So once I've established that low register, say on a B, I'll slur for an octave up to the upper B above the staff. By just speeding up the air, not squeezing my lips, you speed up the air, move more air, your lips will just direct the air. You won't, no smiling embouchures allowed here, no pulling back of the corners. It's all more of a pucker, like when you whistle. Let your lips follow the strength of the airstream up to the octave. Then, once I'm comfortable, starting in the second octave, and I'll attempt the higher B, high B natural. It's a great way to learn the fingerings as well. The upper register fingerings all are derived from the lower register fingerings, from the middle register fingerings. And I have a list, a little checklist, a little cheat sheet that gives you some shortcuts to learning those upper register fingerings, so you won't have to look at a finger chart. And you can find those on our Larson Flute Studio website, thelarsonflutestudio.com. We have that there, and I'll put it up on the Monarch Music Studio of Naples website as well, so you can access that, or you can email me. Oh yeah, so the upper register notes: middle D. Lift your right hand fingers. E, our bugaboo E. You lift your third finger, and so on. So always relate those upper register fingerings with what you already know from the lower or middle register fingerings. Now some of them are slightly different. Let's see, G. High A flat, take off your thumb and first finger. B is a tricky one because you're used to using B natural, thumb and first finger for B, low and middle D. Right? So you actually have to add some kind of odd fingers in order to get the upper B, and that's third finger left hand, third finger right hand on the second trill key. And I definitely recommend that you learn the notes, the fingerings, all the way above high C, from C to maybe at least D or high E flat. And those fingerings are all listed on the Flute Finger Charts app that I just mentioned earlier. It's good to know those, that way you can learn your scales, B major, C major, D flat major, D major, even E flat major, 3 octaves, which will gain you a few extra points in getting into all-state band or all-state orchestra next year. I think that is it. If you want any more help with getting the high register on the flute, or if you have any other questions about any aspects of flute playing, you can reach me at Monarch Music Studio of Naples, and maybe sign up for an online lesson or two. I also give online lessons out of my home studio, and you can contact me through our website, larsonflutestudio.com. So, happy fluting, everybody, and keep practicing.